The bullet punched through her shoulder before she heard the shot. Emily Carter clawed through frozen mud, radio sparking in her hand. The frequency was military-grade, American, and it was hunting her like she was the enemy. She keyed the mic with bloody fingers. Static hissed back. Then a voice crackled through. Old, rough, southern drawl cutting through the white noise like a blade. "They didn't send you here to rescue anyone, kid. They sent you here to die. Now get off that ridge before they zero you." Emily's breath caught. The voice knew her position, knew her mission, knew she'd already been abandoned. "Who the hell are—" "Move, now." The second shot vaporized the rock beside her head. The Black Hawk's rotors carved through mountain air 12 hours before everything went wrong. Emily Carter pressed her forehead against the vibrating hull, watching Idaho's backcountry scroll past in shades of gray and white. Pine forests thick as carpet, valleys choked with snow, no roads, no towns, just wilderness that could swallow a company whole. 5 minutes, the crew chief shouted over the engine noise. She checked her gear for the third time. Medkit, encrypted radio, 48 hours of rations. The mission brief had been light on details. Extract a deep cover asset from a compromised safe house, provide immediate medical support, exfil via secondary LZ if primary was hot. Standard stuff. Except for the part where the assets file was redacted to hell. Across from her, Lieutenant Danny Ortega caught her eye. He was 24, fresh out of Ranger School, still believed the Army didn't lie to its own. He gave her a thumbs up. Emily didn't return it. She'd been a combat medic long enough to recognize a ghost mission. No paper trail, no official orders, just a phone call at 0300 and wheels up by 0600. The kind of operation that disappeared from records before it even happened. LZ in sight, the pilot's voice crackled to her headset. The bird banked hard, dropping toward a clearing barely wide enough for the skids. Through the door gunner's window, Emily saw it. An old fire lookout tower, half collapsed, surrounded by buildings that hadn't seen maintenance since the Cold War. "Supposed to be a training facility," Ortega said, reading her mind. "Decommissioned in '95. Looks dead. That's the point." The Black Hawk flared, kicking up a whirlwind of snow and dead pine needles. Emily grabbed her pack and jumped before the skids touched earth. The cold hit her like a fist. 20 degrees, wind chill driving it lower. Ortega landed beside her, rifle up, scanning the tree line. The two Rangers with them, Kowalski and Chen, spread out in a defensive perimeter. The Black Hawk lifted off immediately. No lingering, no backup bird, just 4 soldiers in a mission that officially didn't exist. "Assets supposed to be in the main structure," Ortega said, checking his GPS. "Grid 47.3382 north, 115.7091 west. Let's move." They crossed the clearing in tactical formation, boots crunching through frozen crust. The main building was concrete block construction, windows boarded, door hanging crooked on rusted hinges. Emily's instincts screamed wrong. No smoke, no heat signature, no sign anyone had been here in years. Ortega stacked up on the door, counted down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. Chen kicked it open. The interior was a tomb. Overturned furniture, scattered papers yellowed with age. A field desk with a radio so old it still had vacuum tubes. "Clear," Kowalski called from the back room. "Nothing here, LT," Chen said. Ortega keyed his radio. "Overwatch, this is ground team. Target location is cold. No asset. No signs of recent activity. Advise." Static. He tried again. "Overwatch, ground team, radio check." More static. Emily pulled out her own encrypted unit, cycled through frequencies. Nothing but white noise and the occasional pop of atmospheric interference. "We're being jammed," she said quietly. Ortega's jaw tightened. Local interference. Mountains play hell with. The first shot came through the window and took Kowalski in the throat. Kowalski went down without a sound, blood spraying across rotted floorboards. Emily moved on instinct, dragging him behind the overturned desk as return fire erupted from Ortega and Chen. Brass casings pinged off concrete, the air filled with cordite, and the wet meat sound of bullets punching through wood. "Contact rear!" Chen screamed. Emily ripped open Kowalski's collar. Entry wound right of center, exit wound the size of a fist, arterial blood pulsing between her fingers. She packed the wound with gauze, applying pressure, knowing it was already too late. His eyes found hers, tried to say something, then he was gone. "Emily, we gotta move!" Ortega fired 3-round bursts toward the tree line. "They're flanking!" She grabbed Kowalski's mags, his sidearm, left his body because carrying dead weight meant joining him. Chen was at the east window, rifle barking steady controlled pairs. Multiple shooters, professional spacing. They knew we were coming. His head snapped back, helmet spinning off. He collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. "No!" Ortega scrambled toward him. Emily yanked him back as bullets chewed through the wall where he'd been standing. "He's gone. We're in a kill box." Ortega's face was white, pupils blown. 24 years old and watching his first command die in real time. She slapped him, hard. "Danny, look at me. Look at me. Where's the secondary exfil?" He blinked. Training reasserted itself. "Northwest, 2 clicks. There's a maintenance road. Then we run. Now." They went out the back window in a shower of glass, hitting snow and rolling, up and sprinting for the tree line as rounds cracked overhead. Emily counted 3 distinct firing positions, maybe 4 shooters, all using suppressed weapons. Professional, coordinated, not insurgents, not foreign at all. They crashed into the forest, branches clawing at their faces. Ortega led, using his GPS to navigate. Emily covered their 6, listening for pursuit. It came fast. Voices on tactical radios, American accents. Using movement to contact drills she'd learned at Fort Benning. "They're U.S.," she panted. "That's impossible. Listen to them." Ortega did. His face went gray. Contractors. Has to be. Some kind of training accident, friendly fire. They executed Chen with a headshot at 200 meters. That wasn't an accident. They ran harder, lungs burning in the thin, cold air. Behind them, the pursuit spread out in a textbook hunting pattern, beaters driving prey toward a kill line. Emily's radio crackled. She almost ignored it. Then she heard the voice. Old, rough, southern drawl. "Girl with the med bag. You're running the wrong direction." She stopped so fast Ortega nearly crashed into her. "Who is this?" "Someone who knows those boys chasing you are Blackwood Security. Ex-Delta, ex-DevGru, expensive as hell. Which means somebody important wants you dead. Our exfil is a trap. They're already there. You head northwest, you're walking into an L-shaped ambush." Ortega grabbed the radio. "Identify yourself. How do you know our—" "Because I set up that same ambush pattern in 2003 when this place was still hot. Now shut up and listen. See that ridge at your 2 o'clock? The one with the burned pines?" Emily glassed it. Saw the scar of an old wildfire, trees like blackened bones. "I see it. Get there. I'll find you. Maybe." "Why should we trust—" The radio went dead. Gunfire crackled behind them, closer now, voices coordinating over comms. "Your call, LT," Emily said. Ortega stared at the northwest bearing, toward exfil, toward home, toward what might be their only way out. Then he looked at the burned ridge. "We go up," he said. The ridge was a bastard, 40-degree slope, loose scree hidden under snow, every step threatening to trigger an avalanche of rock and ice. Emily's shoulder burned where she'd wrenched it, dragging Kowalski. Her hands were numb inside her gloves. Behind them, the pursuit had gone quiet, too quiet. "They're boxing us in," Ortega whispered. "Classic channeling technique. Drive us uphill where we're exposed, then—" A rifle shot cracked across the valley. The round sparked off rock 3 feet from Emily's head. They scrambled higher, using burned trees for cover. Another shot. Another. Not trying to hit them, trying to keep them moving, keep them climbing towards something. The kill zone at the top. "We're dead," Ortega said flatly. "They've got the high ground. They've got time. They've got—" "Contact front." The figure materialized from behind a fallen log like a ghost made flesh. Combat jacket 30 years out of date, scoped hunting rifle, face hidden behind a scarf and goggles. Ortega swung his M4 up. "Don't," the figure said, that same drawl from the radio. "You fire that pop gun, every contractor in 5 clicks triangulates your position. Then we all die." "Who the hell are you?" The scarf came down. The face beneath was weathered leather, 60-plus years of sun and wind and things that aged men faster than time. Gray beard, gray eyes, a scar that ran from temple to jaw like someone had tried to scalp him and failed. Emily knew that face. She'd seen it in a classified briefing 3 years ago. A PowerPoint slide marked "Deceased, Operation Credible, 2003. "Jack Rowland," she breathed. You're dead." The old man's mouth twitched. Might have been a smile. "Yeah," he said. "I got that a lot." Jack Rowland moved through the forest like water through stone. Inevitable, silent, leaving no trace. Emily and Ortega followed, struggling to keep up. The old man set a punishing pace, never looking back, navigating by some internal compass that ignored GPS and terrain maps. "Where are we going?" Ortega demanded. "Somewhere they won't follow." "Why won't they?" "Because I killed the last 3 men who tried." That shut him up. They climbed for another hour, leaving the burned ridge behind, pushing into high country where the snow lay deep and the pines grew sparse. The cold was a living thing now, working its way through Emily's jacket, her gloves, settling into her bones. Jack finally stopped at a rock formation that looked like every other rock formation they'd passed. He knelt, brushed away snow, revealed a steel hatch set flush with stone. "Old SAC site," he said, hauling it open. "Strategic Air Command. Kept spotters up here during the Cold War in case the Russians came over the pole." Stairs descended into darkness. "After you, Lieutenant." Ortega hesitated. Emily didn't blame him. Following a dead man into a hole in the ground ranked high on the list of terrible ideas. But behind them, voices echoed through the trees. Closer now. Ortega went down. Emily followed. Jack came last, pulling the hatch shut with a clang that sounded like a coffin lid. The bunker smelled like rust and old earth and something else. Gunpowder, maybe, or the particular scent of a place where men had lived on high alert for years. Jack lit a Coleman lantern. Warm light pushed back the shadows, revealing a space about the size of a 2-car garage. Bunk beds bolted to walls. A pot-belly stove. Shelves stacked with canned goods and ammunition, and water jugs. "You live here?" Emily said. "Sometimes. Got 3 other places. Rotate every few weeks." "For how long?" 22 years, give or take." Ortega was staring at him like he'd seen a ghost, which, technically, he had. "You were on the credible op, Libya. The briefing said that I died when the safe house got hit." "Yeah." Jack opened a can of beans, ate them cold with a spoon. "That was the cover story. Reality was messier." "What happened?" "I lived, my team didn't. And the people who sent us decided it was cleaner if nobody came home." Emily felt ice that had nothing to do with temperature. "They left you." "Worse. They tried to clean me up. Sent a contractor team 6 months later. I was ready." He gestured at a corner where dog tags hung from a nail. 5 sets. "Buried them in a ravine about 2 miles west." "Jesus Christ," Ortega whispered. After that, I got smart, went deep, became a problem too expensive to solve. Jack looked at Emily. Your turn. Why's Blackwood burning resources on two nobodies in the middle of nowhere? She explained the mission, the redacted asset, the ambush, Kowalski and Chen. Jack listened without interrupting. When she finished, he nodded slowly. You weren't sent to extract an asset, he said. You were sent to get killed. Question is why? That's insane. Is it? Jack pulled out a sat phone, old model, heavily modified. What was your unit before this? 5th Medical Battalion, attached to JSOC for... Emily stopped. For Operation Sandstone, Syria. We provided trauma support for... The pieces clicked together with horrible clarity. Sandstone had been shut down 6 months ago, officially labeled a training exercise. Unofficially, it had been a targeted killing program operating off books in territory the U.S. wasn't supposed to touch. She'd treated 17 operators, knew their faces, knew their names. How many of those operators are still alive? Jack asked quietly. Emily pulled out her phone. No signal, but she had photos. A group shot from the FOB, 17 hard men grinning at the camera. She scrolled through her contacts. Kowalski, deceased today. Chen, deceased today. Morrison, deceased, car accident 4 months ago. Hayes, deceased, training incident 3 months ago. Rodriguez, deceased, suicide 2 months ago. She kept scrolling, kept finding death. Ortega was looking over her shoulder. They're killing everyone who knew about Sandstone. Not just killing, Jack said, erasing. Making it look like accidents, suicides, training failures, anything but what it is. Which is a purge. He met Emily's eyes. You're not a combat medic anymore, kid. You're a loose end. They couldn't risk a fire, so they huddled in sleeping bags while the potbelly stove stayed cold and darkness pressed against the lantern light. Ortega was on watch at the hatch, ear pressed to steel, listening for movement above. Emily cleaned her rifle for the 3rd time, hands needing something to do. Why help us? Jack was sharpening a knife, long, slow strokes against a whetstone. You remind me of my medic, kid named Torres, good at her job, believed in the mission. He tested the edge against his thumb. She died in the safe house. I heard her screaming while I was 200 meters out, too far to help. I'm sorry. Don't be. Be alive. He set the knife aside. That's the only revenge that matters. Revenge against who? We don't even know who's running this. Yeah, you do. Think about the coordination. Blackwood doesn't work cheap. Someone with serious pull sent them. Someone who can make military records disappear, stage accidents, control the narrative. Emily thought about the mission brief, the redacted files, the 0300 phone call with no name attached. How high does this go? High enough that running won't help. High enough that even if you get out of these mountains, they'll find you in a week, a month, a year. You'll have an accident, gas leak, car crash, training incident. Jack looked at her. They're very good at making people disappear. Ortega turned from the hatch. So what do we do? You got 2 choices. 1, I lead you to the Canadian border. You run. You spend the rest of your lives looking over your shoulder. 2, we fight. Fight how? We've got 2 rifles and a pistol against a whole contractor team. They've got numbers. We've got terrain, experience, and something worth more than both. What? Jack smiled. It wasn't comforting. I've got nothing to lose. Already died once. 2nd time's just making it official. Emily checked her weapon count. 3 magazines for her M4, 45 rounds. Ortega had 4 mags, 90 more. Against professional killers with unlimited ammunition and air support if they wanted it. The smart play was run, but Emily kept seeing Kowalski's face, Chen's helmet spinning away, Morrison's car wrapped around a tree. Hayes shot during a training drill that should have been safe. 17 operators, All dead, because someone wanted sandstone buried. If we fight, she said slowly, what's the objective? Survival's one objective, but if you want them to stop hunting, you need leverage. Something that makes you too expensive to kill. Like what? Jack was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, moved to a corner of the bunker, pulled back a tarp. Beneath it was a Pelican case, military grade, locks still intact. I told you my team died in the safe house, he said. That was true. What I didn't say was why we were there. He opened the case. Inside were hard drives, dozens of them, and a camera with a cracked lens, memory cards still loaded. Operation Credible wasn't about killing terrorists, Jack said. It was about killing witnesses, civilians who'd seen something they shouldn't have. We were told they were combatants. We were lied to. Emily stared at the equipment. You documented it. Torres did. Every mission, every target, she was meticulous. His voice went rough. When I realized what we'd done, I tried to report it. That's when they burned the safe house. With your team inside. Yeah, Ortega leaned over the case. This is evidence of war crimes. It's evidence of murder. 73 civilians killed on American orders because they witnessed CIA black site operations. Jack closed the case. I kept this for 22 years. Couldn't use it, couldn't destroy it. Too dangerous to have, too important to lose. Why not leak it? Because the man who gave those orders is now a 3-star general, and the politician who authorized the program is currently sitting on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Jack looked at them both. You want to know who sent Blackwood? Start there. Emily's mind was racing. Colonel Marcus Webb. He was our commanding officer on Sandstone. 3-star now, Chief of Staff for JSOC. And the politician? Senator Patricia Vance, chairwoman of the committee that approves every dollar JSOC spends. Ortega whistled softly. We're fucked. No, Jack said. We're armed. That evidence is our insurance. We make copies. We set up dead man switches. We make it clear that if we die, everything goes public. They'll still try to kill us. Probably, but it'll cost them. Make enough noise, leave enough bodies. Eventually someone asks questions. That's when you leak. He looked at Emily. You ready for that? Ready to burn it all down? She thought about Kowalski, Chen, 17 operators who trusted the system. Yeah, she said. I'm ready. They came at dawn. Ortega heard them first. The scrape of boots on rock, the whisper of fabric against stone. He hand-signaled Jack and Emily awake, doused the lantern. In the sudden darkness, Emily's heart hammered against her ribs. They found us, Ortega breathed. No. Jack's voice was calm. They're searching the grid. Systematic. They'll hit every Cold War site in the area. How long until they check this one? Could be minutes, could be hours. Emily crawled to the hatch, pressed her ear against steel, heard voices, faint but clear. Negative at Site 7, moving to Site 8. Webb wants confirmation by 1200, no excuses. Just 2 targets, how hard can it fucking be? The voices faded. Emily exhaled slowly. They mentioned Webb, because he's running this personally. Jack was packing gear with practiced efficiency, medical supplies, ammunition, the Pelican case with the hard drives. We can't stay here. They'll find this place eventually. Where do we go? Deeper. There's an old fire road 10 clicks northeast. From there we can reach a town called Silver Creek. Population 300. Internet cafe with encrypted connection. To do what? Make copies, upload backups, set the insurance policy. He handed Emily a pack. Then we disappear. They opened the hatch carefully, scanning for movement. The forest was still, snow unmarked except for deer tracks in the distant gouges of a contractor sweep team. 200-meter intervals, Jack said. Tactical movement. Stay off the ridgelines. They moved out. The first kilometer was easy. tree cover, good sight lines, no sign of pursuit. The second kilometer, Emily saw boot prints in the snow. Fresh. Size 11, standard issue boots. "We've got trail," she whispered. Jack examined the prints. 20 minutes old, single man, moving fast. Scout. Do we avoid or we eliminate? Can't leave him behind us. They followed the trail until it crossed a game path. Jack stopped, gestured Ortega left, Emily right. He stayed center, rifle up. The scout appeared 2 minutes later, young guy, mid-20s, wearing Blackwood tactical gear. He was checking his GPS, not paying attention to his surroundings. Amateur mistake. Jack's rifle coughed once, suppressed round. The scout dropped without a sound. They searched the body quickly, found a radio, a map with grid coordinates marked in red, a phone with encrypted comms. Emily pocketed the phone. Might be useful. "They'll miss him," Ortega said. "In about 30 minutes. We need to be 5 clicks away by then." They moved faster now, burning energy they couldn't spare, knowing pursuit was coming. Behind them, a radio crackled to life. "Scout Team 3, radio check." Silence. "3, this is Overwatch, radio check." More silence. Then a different voice, older, harder. "All teams, we have a man down. Grid 47.3521, 115.7198. Converge and engage." Jack swore quietly. "That's Webb. He's on the ground." "How do you know?" "Because I know how he talks." Jack picked up the pace. "We've got 15 minutes before they lock down this valley. Move." They ran. They made it 3 kilometers before the helicopters arrived. Emily heard them first, the distinctive whop, whop, whop of rotor blades echoing off canyon walls. Not military, civilian birds, probably Bell 407s, the kind contractors love for their speed and payload capacity. "Down," Jack hissed. They dove into a drainage ditch as the first helicopter thundered overhead. So low, Emily could see the door gunners scanning the forest with thermal optics. "They've got FLIR," Ortega said. "We're lit up like Christmas trees." Jack was already moving, pulling emergency blankets from his pack, the kind lined with reflective material that scattered thermal signatures. "Wrap up, stay still. Thermal works best on movement." They cocooned themselves in metallic fabric, impressed against frozen earth, while the helicopter made another pass. Emily held her breath, counting heartbeats, praying the ditch was deep enough. The helicopter hovered directly above them for 10 eternal seconds. Then it moved on, sweeping west. "They're running a grid pattern," Jack said. 4 birds, overlapping sectors, professional search and destroy. "How long until they box us in?" "Already have. We're in the kill zone. Question is whether we can slip through before they tighten the noose." Emily checked the stolen phone. It was encrypted, but the screen showed a tactical map, blue dots representing friendly forces, red dots for targets. She counted 8 blue dots converging on their position from 3 directions. "They're using us as bait," she realized. "The helicopters flush us out. The ground teams close the trap." Old playbook. Webb used it in Mosul. Jack studied the terrain. "See that ravine at our 11 o'clock? Drops 60 feet into a creek bed. Water's ice cold this time of year, but it'll mask our thermal signature." "You want us to jump into freezing water?" "I want us to live through the next hour. Water's how we do that." They crawled through underbrush, keeping the emergency blankets wrapped around them, moving in short bursts between helicopter passes. The ravine appeared through the trees, a jagged cut in the earth, steep walls, dark water rushing below. "On my mark," Jack said. 3, 2, gunfire erupted from their 6 o'clock. Rounds snapped through branches, bark exploding, pine needles raining down. Emily rolled right, came up firing, 3-round burst toward muzzle flash. Ortega engaged left, suppressing a second shooter. "Go!" Jack laid down covering fire, his hunting rifle barking methodically. "I'll hold them." Like hell, Emily started. That's an order, Sergeant. His voice cut like razor wire. You're carrying the mission. Move! Ortega grabbed Emily's packstrap, dragged her toward the ravine. She fought him for 2 steps, then training overrode emotion. The mission. The evidence. Getting it out mattered more than one old man who'd already died once. They hit the edge and jumped. The fall lasted forever and no time at all. Emily hit water hard, the cold punching air from her lungs, current grabbing her immediately. She surfaced gasping, saw Ortega 10 feet downstream, struggling against his pack weight. Above them, gunfire intensified, Jack's rifle, return fire from multiple weapons, then silence. No, Emily whispered. Keep moving, Ortega choked out. He bought us time. Don't waste it. The current carried them downstream. Water so cold it burned, muscles seizing. Hypothermia, a real and immediate threat. Emily focused on breathing, on swimming, on not dying in the next 60 seconds. The creek widened, slowed. A sandbar appeared. They crawled onto it, shaking violently. Fingers blue. We need fire or we're dead, Ortega said through chattering teeth. Fire draws them. Hypothermia kills us in 20 minutes. Pick your poison. Emily looked back upstream. No pursuit yet. The contractors would be securing Jack's position, confirming the kill, searching for intelligence. They had a window, small, closing fast. Make the fire, she said. They built the fire in a rock shelter, small enough to produce minimal smoke, hot enough to stop the shaking. Emily stripped out of wet clothes, wrung them out, hung them on branches. Ortega did the same. They sat in their underwear, weapons close, listening for pursuit. He's dead, Ortega said quietly. Jack, he has to be. Emily didn't answer. She was checking the Pelican case. Waterproof, thank God. Hard drive still intact. The evidence survived. The man who'd protected it for 22 years hadn't. We should move as soon as we're dry, Ortega continued. Head for Silver Creek, like he said. Upload the files. Set up the insurance. No. What? Emily was staring into the fire, seeing Kowalski's face. Chen's helmet. Jack's gray eyes. We're not running. Emily, we're 2 people against an army. We're 2 people with leverage, and we just lost the only man who knew how to use it. She met Ortega's stare. Jack said make copies, set up dead man switches. We do that, but we also finish what he started. Which is, kill Marcus Webb. Ortega blinked. You want to assassinate a 3-star general? I want to remove the man ordering our deaths. Webb's not in some fortified Pentagon office. He's here, on the ground, running this personally because he can't trust anyone else with it. Emily pulled out the stolen phone. And we have his tactical network. She showed him the map. 8 blue dots now clustered around a single position, presumably where they'd engaged Jack. But one blue dot sat apart from the others, 2 kilometers north. Command post, Emily said. Has to be. Webb would run operations from a secure location with comms and oversight. How do you know he's there? I don't. But if he is, and we take him out, this whole operation falls apart. Blackwood doesn't work without a paymaster. The contracts get pulled. We become too expensive to hunt. Ortega was quiet for a long moment. Then, that's insane. Got a better idea? Yeah, we run, we hide, we stay alive. For how long? Jack lived 22 years in holes in the ground. You want that? Emily loaded a fresh magazine into her rifle. I'm done running from people who think they can kill us because we know what they did. I'm done being a loose end. You're going to get us killed. Probably. She stood, started dressing in damp clothes that steamed in the firelight. But I'm going to make them pay for it. Ortega watched her for a long moment. Then he started dressing too. You're fucking crazy, you know that? Yeah, I learned from the best. They moved on Webb's command post at dusk, when shadows pooled thick between the trees, and thermal optics struggled with temperature differentials. Emily had studied the stolen phone's map for 2 hours, memorizing patrol patterns, guard rotations, the precise layout of Webb's defensive perimeter. 4 sentries, rotating every 90 minutes. 2 vehicles, probably armored SUVs. A communications array with satellite uplink. Professional setup. But professionals got complacent. Jack would have done this differently, Ortega whispered as they low-crawled through frozen ferns. Jack was special forces. We're improvising. Emily paused, listening. Heard voices, American accents, talking about a football game. Sentry at our 2 o'clock, 20 meters. They waited for him to pass, then slipped through the gap in patrol coverage. The command post sat in a clearing, 2 large tents, the vehicles parked in defensive positions, generators humming quietly. Through the tense fabric, Emily saw silhouettes. 3 people, 1 standing, 2 sitting. The standing figure was gesturing, pointing at something, probably a map. She couldn't confirm it was Webb, but the body language was right. Command presence, authority. I can't get a shot from here, Ortega breathed. He was on the scoped rifle they'd taken from Jack's bunker. Need better angle. Wait for my signal. Emily circled left, moving with glacial patience, using terrain and vegetation. Got within 15 meters of the tent. Could hear voices now, muffled but clear enough. Lost contact with Scout Team 3 4 hours ago. Rollins confirmed KIA, we recovered his body. Emily's breath caught. They had Jack. No sign of the other 2. They couldn't have gotten far, not in this cold. Then find them. That voice was different, older, carrying the weight of rank. Senator Vance wants confirmation by midnight. I'm not calling her to say we lost 2 junior enlisted in a goddamn forest. Marcus Webb. Had to be. Emily keyed her radio, double-clicked. Ortega's signal to prepare. She pulled a thermite grenade from her pack, one of Jack's surprises, ancient ordnance that still worked. Set the timer for 30 seconds. Placed it against the fuel drums stacked behind the vehicles. 20 seconds. She moved to position, rifle up, aimed at the tent entrance. 15 seconds. One of the sentries turned, scanning her direction. She froze, praying darkness was enough. 10 seconds. The sentry's radio crackled. Perimeter check. All clear? 5 seconds. All clear, the sentry responded, turning away. 0. The thermite detonated with a sound like God tearing metal. White-hot fire consumed the fuel drums, the explosion chain-reacting through both vehicles. Ammunition cooked off, tracers spiraling into the sky, the concussion wave flattening the tents. Men poured out of the command tent, silhouettes against flame. Ortega's rifle cracked once. A figure dropped. Emily engaged the others, controlled pairs, center mass. Dropped one, clipped another. The camp dissolved into chaos, shouting, return fire, someone screaming about the ammunition. Withdraw, Emily yelled. They ran, using the confusion for cover, bullets chasing them into the darkness. Behind them, the command post burned like a funeral pyre. They didn't stop running for 2 kilometers. When they finally collapsed behind a fallen log, both gasping, Emily checked the stolen phone. The blue dot representing the command post was offline. But the other 7 dots were moving, converging, hunting. Did we get him? Ortega panted. Did we get Webb? I don't know. Jesus Christ, Emily, that was the whole point. I know. She wanted to scream, to rage, to go back and confirm the kill. But that was suicide. We hurt them, made them bleed. That's something. That's nothing if Webb's still alive. The phone buzzed. Incoming encrypted message. Emily stared at the screen, blood turning to ice. The message read, "Nice try, Sergeant Carter. You just made this personal. M.W." Marcus Webb was alive, and now he was angry. They found shelter in a hunter's blind, an old wooden platform 20 feet up a pine tree. It reeked of animal piss and rot, but it offered concealment and a sightline on their back trail. Emily sat with her back against the trunk, rifle across her knees, staring at Webb's message. "He knows your name," Ortega said quietly. "He always did. This whole thing, the mission, the ambush, it was targeted. They knew exactly who to send." She scrolled through the phone's data, searching for anything useful. Found a folder labeled sandstone_cleanup. Inside were files, photographs, after-action reports. Her hands started shaking. Every operator from the sandstone photograph was there. Morrison, terminated via vehicle accident. Hayes, terminated via training incident. Rodriguez, terminated via induced suicide, pharmaceutical cocktail. Kowalski and Chen were marked terminated, field execution. Her own file was still labeled active target. And there at the bottom was something she hadn't expected. Jack Rowland's file. It was massive, hundreds of pages, 22 years of surveillance reports, attempted terminations, psychological profiles. The government had never stopped hunting him. They just learned to be patient. The last entry was dated today. Terminated, field engagement, 1347 hours. Body recovered, evidence secured. Evidence secured. Emily felt something break inside her chest. "They have the hard drives," she whispered. "What?" "Jack's evidence. The Pelican case. We left it at the bunker when we ran." She looked at Ortega, vision blurring. "We lost it. We lost everything." "No," Ortega grabbed her shoulders. "We have copies. You downloaded files to that phone before we moved. I saw you. I got maybe 30% before the connection dropped. Enough to know what's there, not enough to prove it." Emily's laugh was broken. "Jack died protecting that evidence for 22 years, and I lost it in 22 minutes. Ortega was silent. What could he say? She was right. The phone buzzed again. Another message from Webb. "I have what you came for, Sergeant. The hard drives, the camera, all of Agent Rowland's very thorough documentation. It's currently burning in a fire barrel. Should be ash in about 20 minutes. After that, there's no proof Operation Credible ever went wrong. No proof 73 civilians died. No proof you're anything but a deserter who killed her own team. Surrender now, and I'll make it quick. Keep running, and I'll make you regret every breath. Your choice." Emily read it twice. Then she threw the phone against the tree trunk, shattering it. "Feel better?" Ortega asked. "No." They sat in silence, listening to the forest. In the distance, helicopters still searched, their rotors a persistent reminder that the hunters weren't giving up. "We can't win this," Ortega finally said. "Even if we kill Webb tomorrow, there's still Senator Vance. Still the whole apparatus that covered up Credible in the first place. We're ants fighting a boot. Jack fought for 22 years. Jack was special forces, combat veteran, survival expert." Ortega's voice was gentle. "We're a medic and a lieutenant who graduated Ranger School 6 months ago. We're out of our depth." Emily wanted to argue. Couldn't, because he was right. They were going to die in these mountains. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. But death was coming, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Unless... "The phone," she said suddenly. "You just broke it." "No, the other phone, the one I took from the scout." She dug through her pack, found it, still charged, still encrypted. "Webb said the evidence is burning, but he wouldn't burn it personally. Too important, he'd delegate." She powered on the phone, navigated through the encryption, military grade, but the scout had been lazy, used a PIN instead of biometric. 4 tries later, she was in. The phone's recent activity showed a message sent 15 minutes ago. "Package secured. Transporting to primary site for disposal per Colonel's orders. ETA 30 minutes. The message had been sent to a contact labeled Overwatch, and the phone had GPS enabled. "They haven't burned it yet," Emily breathed. "They're moving it." Ortega leaned over. Where? She pulled up the map, saw a blue dot moving northeast, following an old logging road. 6 kilometers from here, single vehicle by the look of it. That's a transport, not a combat team. Maybe 2 guys, 3 at most. Emily was already packing gear. We hit them, take the evidence, and disappear before Webb knows what happened. Emily, this is insane. Everything we've done is insane. She grabbed his collar. But this is the only play we have left. Jack died for that evidence. 73 civilians died because of what's on those drives. I'm not letting Webb erase them like they never existed. Ortega stared at her. Then he started packing too. We're going to die doing this. Probably. Just wanted to confirm. They climbed down from the hunter's blind and disappeared into the darkness. The logging road was a scar through the forest, rutted and overgrown, barely wide enough for a single vehicle. Emily and Ortega reached it with 10 minutes to spare, found a choke point where fallen trees forced traffic to slow. Classic ambush site, Ortega observed, taking position behind a moss-covered log. They'll see it coming. Don't care. We're not trying for subtle. Emily checked her magazines. 2 left. 60 rounds total. We stop the vehicle, neutralize the crew, grab the case, and run. What if they destroy it before we get there? Then we die having tried. The vehicle appeared 5 minutes later. A Humvee, civilian variant, armored but not military grade. 2 men visible through the windshield. Driver and passenger, both armed. Emily let it get within 50 meters. Then she fired. Her first rounds shattered the windshield. The Humvee swerved, driver fighting for control. Ortega engaged the engine block, rounds punching through the hood, steam erupting. The vehicle slewed sideways and stopped. The passenger door flew open. A contractor rolled out, rifle up, scanning for targets. Emily put 2 rounds center mass. He dropped. The driver stayed inside, using the vehicle for cover. "Covering fire!" Emily yelled. Ortega obliged, pouring rounds into the Humvee's body. Emily moved left, flanking, got an angle on the driver's door. Saw the driver bail out the far side. She adjusted, fired. Her rifle clicked empty. The driver was up and running, disappearing into the forest. "Let him go," Ortega called. "Get the case." Emily sprinted to the Humvee, yanked open the rear door. The Pelican case sat on the back seat, intact. She grabbed it, popped the latches. The hard drives were inside. All of them. Jack's camera, memory cards still loaded. Relief hit her like a physical force. "We got it!" She hauled the case out. "We actually got—" The grenade landed 5 feet away. Emily saw it, recognized the shape. The spoon flying free, had maybe 2 seconds to react. She dove behind the Humvee as the world turned to fire and noise and shrapnel screaming through metal. The blast picked her up, slammed her down, ears ringing, vision white. Ortega was shouting something. She couldn't hear. Then hands grabbed her, dragging her away from the burning Humvee. Ortega's face swam into focus, mouth moving. "Move, we have to move. They're coming." She still had the case, somehow, clutched against her chest like a child. They ran, Emily's head spinning, blood running from a dozen small cuts where shrapnel had found skin. Behind them, voices shouted coordinates into radios. The escaped driver calling in their position. "How many?" Emily gasped. "All of them," Ortega said. "Every team in the valley. Webb just activated every asset." They crashed through underbrush, no longer caring about noise discipline or tactical movement, just speed, distance, survival. The phone in Emily's pocket, the scout's phone, buzzed with incoming messages. She pulled it out, read them while running. "All teams converge on grid 47.3712, 115.7334. Targets are wounded, slowing, close the trap. Colonel wants them alive if possible, dead if necessary, no escape." She looked at Ortega. "They're boxing us in again." "Where's the nearest opening?" Emily pulled up the map, saw the blue dots converging from three sides, leaving only one gap, northeast, toward higher elevation, toward terrain so rough even contractors would struggle, toward what looked like a dead end. "There," she said, pointing. "That's a cliff face. We'll be trapped." "Better than trapped and surrounded." She picked up speed. "Move!" They climbed for 2 hours, elevation gain that burned lungs and turned legs to rubber. The cliff face loomed above them, gray stone, slick with ice, impossible to scale without gear they didn't have. Behind them, voices echoed through the valley. Closer, always closer. "We're fucked," Ortega panted. "Completely, totally fucked." Emily scanned the cliff, looking for options. Saw none. Just vertical stone and the promise of death when the contractors caught up. Then she saw the cave. Small opening, 20 feet up the cliff face, barely visible behind a curtain of ice. Maybe 8 feet wide. Couldn't tell how deep. "There," she said. "You can't be serious. It's cover, high ground, defensible. It's a tomb. We go in there, we're trapped. We're already trapped." Emily started climbing, using cracks in the stone for handholds, boots slipping on ice. "At least this way we choose where we die." Ortega swore, but he followed. The climb was nightmare fuel. Every handhold threatened to break. Every foothold tried to kill. Emily's fingers went numb, shoulders screaming, the pelican case strapped to her back throwing off her back. She made the cave entrance with seconds to spare, rolled inside, reached back to help Ortega up. He grabbed her hand. A rifle shot cracked across the valley. Ortega jerked, grunted, nearly lost his grip. Emily hauled him up one-handed, dragged him into the cave as more rounds sparked off stone. "Hit?" she gasped. Grazed, left side. Blood soaked his jacket. "I'm good." He wasn't. The wound was deep, bleeding fast. Emily packed it with gauze from her med kit, applied pressure, knowing it wasn't enough. "How many mags you got left?" she asked. "One." "Me too. 30 rounds between them. We make them count." The cave was deeper than it looked, stretching back into darkness. Water dripped somewhere. The air smelled like bat guano in old earth. Emily moved to the entrance, used it as a fighting position. Below, contractors were gathering, maybe 8 of them, setting up a perimeter. One man stood apart from the others, older, wearing a colonel's insignia on his jacket. Marcus Webb. He looked up at the cave, seemed to stare directly at Emily despite the distance. Then he picked up a radio. "Sergeant Carter," his voice boomed from speakers mounted on one of the vehicles. "This is Colonel Marcus Webb. I'm offering you one chance to surrender. Come out now with the evidence intact and I'll make your deaths quick. Stay in that hole and I'll bury you in it." Emily didn't answer. "Silent treatment. Fine." Webb gestured to his men. "Smoke them out." The contractors fired tear gas grenades. They arced up toward the cave, bounced off stone, fell short. Webb frowned, recalculated. "Bring up the explosives." Ortega's hand found Emily's shoulder. "We can't win this." "I know. So what do we do?" Emily looked at the pelican case, Jack's legacy. 22 years of hiding, protecting, hoping someone would finish what he started. She opened it, pulled out a hard drive, inserted it into the scout's phone. The device recognized it immediately, began copying files. "What are you doing?" Ortega asked. "Insurance." Emily found the phone's emergency broadcast function, the kind that sent messages to every contact in the system, bypassing encryption. "Webb said we're ants. Maybe, but ants can bite." She composed a message. "To all Blackwood personnel, this is Sergeant Emily Carter, U.S. Army. The man giving you orders is Colonel Marcus Webb. He is using you to cover up war crimes committed during Operation Credible in 2003. 73 civilians were murdered on his orders. The evidence is attached. If you have families, if you have consciences, if you have any honor left, walk away. This isn't legal. This isn't justice. This is murder. She attached every file the phone could hold. Hit send. The message went out to every phone in Blackwood's network. Below, she saw contractors checking their phones. Saw confusion. Saw one man show his screen to another. Webb was shouting now, but his voice was drowned out by the sudden buzz of a dozen phones, all receiving the same damning data. "It won't be enough," Ortega said quietly. "Probably not." Emily loaded her last magazine. "But Jack didn't die for nothing, and neither will we." The first contractor started climbing toward the cave. Emily took aim. She dropped the climber with a headshot at 30 meters. The body fell, tumbling down the cliff face, landing with a wet crunch. The contractors below opened fire, rounds chewing up the cave entrance, forcing Emily back into cover. Rock dust filled the air. Ricochets whined into darkness. "They're going to grenade us," Ortega said. He was pale, losing blood despite the pressure bandage. "Can't climb, can't shoot accurately, so they'll blow the entrance." "Let them." Emily was checking the phone. The broadcast had gone out to 47 contacts. Some were reading it, some were ignoring it. 3 had replied. "This true?" one asked. "Fuck this. I didn't sign up for war crimes," another wrote. "Webb's lying to us," a third contributed. It was chaos. Beautiful, chaotic doubt spreading through the contractor force, but not enough to stop them. Below, Webb was screaming into his radio. "I don't care what they sent you. Those are terrorist propaganda, deep fakes. You're professionals. Act like it." Some listened, some didn't. A contractor walked away from the perimeter, heading for the vehicles. Webb shot him in the back. The man dropped. Didn't move. The other contractors stared. At their fallen comrade. At Webb. At each other. "Jesus Christ," Ortega whispered. "He just..." "Showed his hand," Emily finished. "He's desperate." Desperate men made mistakes. She watched Webb reload his sidearm, bark orders at the remaining contractors, saw fear in their eyes, saw hesitation, saw one man turn off his safety while looking at the colonel's back. The mutiny didn't last long. 2 contractors sided with the one who'd been shot. 3 sided with Webb. The rest tried to stay neutral, caught in a crossfire of betrayal and survival instinct. Gunfire erupted, not at the cave, at each other. Emily watched in stunned silence as Blackwood tore itself apart. Men who'd been working together 5 minutes ago, now killing each other over leaked documents and a colonel's desperation. Webb survived the initial exchange, dove behind a Humvee, returned fire at his own men. 3 contractors dropped. The others scattered using trees for cover. "We need to move," Ortega said, "while they're distracted." "Move where? The cliff face is unclimbable." "Then deeper. This cave has to go somewhere." Emily looked into the darkness, heard water, echoing like it was falling from a great height. That could be a dead end. Better than staying here. He was right. The contractors would sort out their differences eventually. The survivors would come for the cave, finish the job. Emily grabbed the Pelican case, helped Ortega to his feet. They moved deeper, using the phone's flashlight to navigate. The cave narrowed to a crawl space, then opened into a larger chamber. Water fell from somewhere above, creating a pool that drained through cracks in the stone. And there, on the far wall, carved into rock, J. Nowland, 2003. If you're reading this, you're as fucked as I was. Below it, a second message. Emergency exit, follow the water. Emily's throat tightened. He was here. Jack was here. 22 years ago, yeah. Ortega was studying the water. It drains through those cracks, probably feeds into an underground stream. We can't fit through cracks. No, but there. He pointed to a fissure in the cave wall, partially hidden by calcification. That's big enough. They squeezed through, emerged into a natural tunnel, barely wide enough to walk upright. The water sound grew louder, echoing off stone. The tunnel sloped down, twisted, opened into a cavern the size of a cathedral. Water fell from a hole in the ceiling 60 feet above, creating a pool that fed a stream running through the cavern floor. The stream disappeared into a tunnel on the far side. Jack's escape route, Emily breathed. He knew they'd trap him, so he made a back door. If we follow that stream, we might get out, or we might drown in an underground river. Emily checked the phone. No signal this deep. No way to know if the stream led to freedom or death. Behind them, voices echoed through the cave. The contractors had reached the first chamber. "Your call, Sergeant," Ortega said. Emily looked at the stream, at the darkness beyond, at the pelican case containing evidence worth 22 years of hiding, and God knew how many lives. "We follow the water," she said. The stream was ice cold and waist deep, the current strong enough to pull at their legs. Emily led, holding the pelican case above her head. Ortega right behind, his breathing labored from blood loss. The tunnel narrowed, widened, dropped in a series of small waterfalls that soaked them to the skin. Emily's teeth chattered. Hypothermia was minutes away. "Keep moving," she told herself. "Keep moving or die." The tunnel branched. She chose right, following the stronger current, hoping it led to an outlet. Wrong choice. The ceiling dropped to 3 feet, then 2. Then the water surface met stone, and there was nowhere left to go. "Back," Emily gasped. "Wrong way." They reversed course, wasting precious minutes, precious heat. Took the left branch. This one opened up, the ceiling rising, the current strengthening. Emily saw light ahead, faint, gray, but definitely light. "There!" Ortega shouted. They scrambled toward it, climbing over rocks slick with algae. The stream poured out through a hole in the cave wall, dropping 10 feet into a mountain creek. Emily jumped first, hitting freezing water, immediately swept downstream. She fought the current, grabbed a boulder, pulled herself onto the bank. Ortega splashed down beside her. They crawled onto snow-covered ground, shaking violently, the pelican case miraculously still sealed. "We made it," Ortega breathed. "Holy shit, we actually made it." Emily looked around. They were in a valley she didn't recognize, miles from Webb's command post, with no idea which direction led to civilization. But they were alive, and they had the evidence. She opened the case, checked the hard drives. Still dry, still intact. "Now what?" Ortega asked. Emily pulled out the scout's phone. Still had charge. Still had the encrypted files she'd copied. "Now we finish it," she said. They found shelter in an abandoned hunting cabin 2 miles downstream. No heat, no supplies, but it had walls and a roof and kept the wind off. Emily built a fire in the stone fireplace, using wood from a collapsed shed. They stripped out of wet clothes, hung them to dry, sat wrapped in moth-eaten blankets scavenged from the cabin's single bed. Ortega's wound had stopped bleeding, but infection was inevitable. His skin was gray, eyes fever-bright. "Need antibiotics," Emily said, checking his dressing, "and proper medical care, soon." "How soon?" 24 hours, maybe less. He nodded slowly. Didn't argue. They both knew what that meant. Emily turned her attention to the phone, to the mission Jack had died protecting. She had files, evidence, proof of 73 murders ordered by Marcus Webb and authorized by Senator Patricia Vance. But proof meant nothing if no one saw it. "I need to upload these," she said. "Send them somewhere they can't be buried." "To who?" "We can't trust military channels. Webb controls those. Can't trust government oversight. Vance controls that." "Press then. Journalists who specialize in military leaks." "And how do we contact them? We're in the middle of nowhere with no internet, no phone service, no—" "Silver Creek," Emily interrupted. Jack mentioned it. Internet cafe with encrypted connection. 300 people. Small enough Webb's contractors won't be flooding the streets. "How far?" She checked the phone's GPS, got a rough position. 40 miles. 2 days on foot. "I won't make 2 days." Emily wanted to lie, couldn't. I know. They sat in silence, watching the fire. Outside, wind howled through pine trees. Somewhere in the distance, helicopters still searched. Leave me, Ortega said finally. You take the evidence, get to Silver Creek, finish the mission. No. Emily, no. She met his eyes. We both go or neither does. That's not logical. The mission matters more than, fuck the mission. The words surprised her with their vehemence. I'm not leaving another person behind. Not Kowalski, not Chen, not Jack, not you. They were already dead. So you're giving up? Just accepting it? I'm being realistic. Ortega's voice cracked. I'm bleeding internally, probably septic, running a fever. Even if we had antibiotics, even if we had a hospital, my chances are maybe 50-50. You can't carry me 40 miles. The math doesn't work. Then we changed the math. Emily was already digging through her med kit, pulling out combat antibiotics, painkillers, field sutures. I stabilize you here. We rest for 6 hours, then we move at a pace you can handle. 10 miles a day instead of 20. 4 days instead of 2. Webb's teams are in chaos. We saw it. They're fighting each other, questioning orders. Half of them read those files, maybe more. Webb's network is compromised. She started prepping a field IV. We have a window, small, but it exists. Ortega watched her work. You really think we can make it? I think we have to try. She inserted the IV, hung the bag from a roof beam, started antibiotics flowing, gave him morphine for the pain, cleaned and redressed the wound. By the time she finished, his fever was dropping. Not cured, but stable. 6 hours, she said, then we move. 6 hours, he agreed. Emily set her watch, fed more wood to the fire, settled in to keep watch. The phone buzzed. Incoming message. From a number she didn't recognize. She opened it, blood turning cold as she read. Sergeant Carter, this is Senator Patricia Vance. Colonel Webb has informed me of your situation. I'm prepared to offer a deal. Your life, Lieutenant Ortega's life, and full pardons for any alleged crimes in exchange for the evidence you stole. You have 6 hours to respond before I unleash resources that will make Blackwood look like mall security. Your choice. Choose wisely. Emily stared at the message. Full pardons, their lives. All they had to do was surrender the truth. She looked at Ortega, sleeping fitfully under the morphine, thought about Kowalski and Chen, about Jack Rowland hiding in bunkers for 22 years, about 73 civilians whose names she didn't know. The phone buzzed again. I'm waiting, Sergeant. Emily's finger hovered over the keyboard. Emily stared at Vance's message for a full minute. Then she started typing. Senator Vance, this is Sergeant Emily Carter. I've read the files, all of them. Operation Credible wasn't a mistake, it was murder. 73 civilians executed because they witnessed CIA black sites. You authorized it. Webb carried it out. And when people like Jack Rowland tried to report it, you buried them. So here's my counteroffer. Resign. Confess. Face justice. You have 6 hours. After that, every news outlet in America gets these files. Your choice. Choose wisely. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The response came in 30 seconds. You're making a mistake. I made a mistake when I trusted the system, Emily typed back. I'm fixing it now. She powered off the phone, pulled the battery, threw both into different corners of the cabin. Ortega stirred, opened his eyes. What did you do? Burn the last bridge. Emily checked her watch. We've got maybe 4 hours before Vance activates whatever nightmare she's threatening. We need to move now. I thought you said 6 hours. That was before I pissed off a U.S. senator. She started packing gear. Can you walk? Ortega tested his leg, winced. Define walk. Put one foot in front of the other without passing out. Then barely. Good enough. Emily helped him stand, shouldered both their packs plus the Pelican case. We make Silver Creek by dawn, or we don't make it at all. They left the cabin at 0200 hours, moving through darkness by moonlight and instinct. Emily had pulled a compass from Jack's gear, oriented on northeast, the direction the valley ran, the direction that had to eventually lead to civilization. Ortega managed half a mile before his leg gave out. Emily caught him, lowered him to a fallen log. "Break. 5 minutes." "Just leave me," he said again, weaker this time. "Not happening." "Emily, you can't." "Watch me." She pulled out a length of paracord, fashioned a crude harness. "I carry the case. You lean on me. We move together." "That's insane." "Everything we've done is insane. This is just more of the same." They moved. Dawn found them 6 miles from the cabin, exhausted, freezing, but still moving. Emily heard the helicopters before she saw them. 3 birds, flying low, searching in a grid pattern. Not Blackwood. These were different. Civilian markings, but military precision. "Vance's reinforcements," Ortega breathed. They dove into a drainage culvert as the first helicopter passed overhead. Emily pressed herself flat against frozen mud, Ortega beside her, both holding breath. The helicopter hovered, moved on. "They're not using thermal," Emily realized, "just visual scans." "Why?" "Because Vance can't officially authorize military assets. These are private contractors flying civilian birds, probably hired through shell companies." Emily risked a look, saw the helicopter spreading out, covering more ground. "She's limited. Good. Doesn't feel limited." They waited until the search pattern moved west, then climbed out and kept moving. The terrain opened up. Trees gave way to scrub brush, then to open meadow. A 2-lane highway cut through the valley floor, first sign of civilization they'd seen. "Silver Creek has to be close," Emily said. "Highway means towns." They were 100 meters from the road when the vehicles appeared. 4 black SUVs, driving slow, scanning the roadside. Emily saw armed men in the passenger seats, scanning with binoculars. "Down," she hissed. They flattened in tall grass, watching the convoy pass. Emily counted 8 men per vehicle, all armed, all professional. 32 contractors between them and the highway. "We can't cross here," Ortega said. "We cross or we're trapped." Emily studied the terrain, saw a culvert running under the highway, maybe 50 meters west. "There, we go under." They low-crawled through the grass, every meter an eternity. Emily's shoulders screamed from carrying gear. Ortega's breathing was ragged, labored. They reached the culvert. It was concrete pipe, 4 feet in diameter, filled with a trickle of snowmelt. Emily went first, crawling through freezing water, the Pelican case scraping on concrete. Ortega followed, moving slower, grunting with pain. Halfway through, Emily heard engines. The SUVs were coming back. "Faster," she urged. Ortega tried. His leg buckled. He collapsed in the culvert, blocking the way. "Get up," Emily begged. "Danny, get up." "Can't." His voice was distant. "Leg's done. Probably septic. Go without me." "No." "That's an order, Sergeant." "I don't take orders from you anymore." Emily grabbed his pack straps, hauled him forward. He screamed. She kept pulling. They emerged on the far side as the SUVs stopped directly above them. Emily froze, her doors opening, boots on asphalt, voices coordinating a search pattern. "Fan out." "She's on foot, probably hypothermic, definitely desperate. Check every drainage, every bush, every..." A different voice cut in. Older, female, authority. "Belay that. We're not chasing her anymore." Emily recognized that voice. Senator Patricia Vance. "Ma'am, if we don't pursue..." "We don't need to pursue. We know where she's going." Vance's heels clicked on asphalt, getting closer to the culvert. "Silver Creek. Population 287. 1 internet cafe. She needs connectivity to leak those files. So we don't chase, we wait. Emily's blood turned to ice. Lock down the town, Vance continued. Nobody in, nobody out. Every phone, every computer, every possible upload point, we control it. When she arrives, we'll be ready. And if she doesn't come, then she dies in these mountains with evidence nobody will ever see. Either way, we win. The boots walked away. Doors slammed. Engines started. The convoy drove off, heading northeast, towards Silver Creek. Emily helped Ortega out of the culvert, her mind racing. They're setting a trap. I heard. Ortega was shivering violently. So what do? We spring it. They reached Silver Creek at 1400 hours. The town was exactly what Emily expected. A single main street, maybe 20 buildings, post office, general store, and there, at the far end, a sign reading Silver Creek Internet and Copy, and surrounding it, 32 contractors in black SUVs. Emily watched from the tree line, using binoculars scavenged from Jack's gear. Counted positions, noted sight lines, identified weak points, found none. It's a kill box, she said quietly. The moment I step onto Main Street, they have me. Then don't step onto Main Street. Ortega was pale, fever bright again despite the antibiotics. Find another way. There is no other way. The cafe is the only place with the bandwidth to upload files this size. Everything else is dial-up or doesn't exist. So we're fucked. Emily lowered the binoculars. Maybe not. She pulled out the phone battery, reinserted it, powered on. Immediately, messages flooded in. Threats from Webb, demands from Vance, and something else, a message from an unknown number. Sergeant Carter, you don't know me, but I knew Jack Rowland. He saved my life in Mosul, 2006. I heard what you're trying to do. I'm in Silver Creek. I can help. Meet me at the old feed mill, south end of town. Come alone. D. Torres. Torres, Jack's medic, the one who documented Operation Credible, the one Emily thought had died in the safe house. It's a trap, Ortega said immediately. Probably. So why are you smiling? Because if Torres survived, Jack might have made more copies of the evidence, hidden backups, insurance policies. Emily checked the message timestamp, sent 20 minutes ago. And if this is a trap, I need to know how deep Vance's reach goes. You're actually going. You're staying here, too weak to move. Emily handed him a pistol, her last 3 magazines. Someone comes that isn't me, shoot first. Emily, I'll be back. She grabbed the Pelican case. 1 hour. If I'm not, assume I'm dead, and run. Run where? Anywhere but here. She disappeared into the forest before he could argue. The old feed mill sat at the south edge of town, a collapsed ruin of rotted wood and rusted machinery. Emily approached from the west, using tree cover, rifle up, scanning for threats. The building appeared empty. She keyed the phone. I'm here. A figure emerged from the mill's interior. Female, mid-40s, wearing civilian clothes but moving with military precision. Dark hair, scarred hands, eyes that had seen too much. You look like shit, Sergeant, the woman said. You look alive, Torres. Barely. Diana Torres gestured at her left arm, prosthetic from the elbow down. Lost this in the safe house. Took me 6 months to dig out of the rubble. By then, Jack was gone. The evidence was scattered, and I was declared dead. So you hid. Like Jack, different mountains, same strategy. Torres moved closer. I heard about Idaho, heard Blackwood mobilized, heard Webb was on the ground personally, knew it had to be about Credible. Emily kept her rifle ready. How'd you find me? I've been monitoring contractor frequencies since I heard Jack died. Saw your broadcast to Blackwood's network. Read the files you leaked. Torres smiled grimly. Ballsy move, also suicidal. Seems to be my specialty. Emily gestured at the town. Vance has 32 contractors locking down the only internet point. I can't upload the evidence without getting killed, which is why you don't upload. Then what? Torres pulled out a laptop, military grade, heavily encrypted. Jack and I made contingencies. Dead man switches, encrypted servers, auto-upload protocols triggered by specific conditions. She opened the laptop. One of those conditions is if Jack's biometric signature flatlines for more than 72 hours. Emily's breath caught. He's been dead almost 48. Exactly, which means in 24 hours, every file he collected, plus everything I've gathered over 20 years, uploads automatically to 50 news organizations, 3 international courts, and the FBI's Public Corruption Division. Vance will shut it down. She can't. The servers are distributed across 14 countries. The encryption is military grade. The upload is automatic and irreversible. Torres met Emily's eyes. Jack spent 22 years building the perfect insurance policy. It activates tomorrow at 1400 hours, whether we're alive or not. Emily felt something loosen in her chest. Relief. Hope. Then we just need to survive 24 hours. That's the hard part. Torres pointed toward town. Vance knows about the dead man's switch. That's why she's here personally. She's got 24 hours to find and destroy every server, every backup, every copy of evidence that could bury her. Can she do it? She's got unlimited resources, black site access, and no oversight. So maybe. Torres closed the laptop. But she's got one problem. What? She doesn't know where the servers are. Only 3 people ever did. Jack, me, and one other. Who? Torres smiled. Colonel Marcus Webb. Emily stared. Webb knows where the servers are? He set them up. Torres settled onto a collapsed beam, favoring her prosthetic arm. Operation Credible wasn't just murder, Sergeant. It was leverage. Webb and Vance weren't burying evidence. They were stockpiling it, creating blackmail material on everyone involved. The CIA officers who ran the black sites, the contractors who did the killing, the politicians who authorized it. Why? Power, control, insurance. Torres pulled up files on the laptop. Webb didn't just document war crimes. He documented everything. Every payment, every order, every signature, created a network of mutually assured destruction. If anyone tried to expose Credible, they'd expose themselves too. Emily's mind raced. But if the dead man's switch activates, everyone burns. Webb, Vance, the CIA, half of JSOC Command, 3 sitting senators, and a dozen contractors who became very rich killing civilians. Torres looked up. That's why Vance is desperate. She's not just trying to silence you, she's trying to prevent Armageddon. So we let it happen. Let the switch activate. Let them all burn. Is that what you want? Because it's not just the guilty who burn. Torres pulled up more files. The evidence includes operational details on active missions, agent identities, source networks, safe houses. If this goes public, hundreds of assets die. Entire operations collapse. Some of those operations are legitimate, protecting real American interests. Emily felt sick. You're saying we can't leak it. I'm saying there's a cost, and you need to decide if you're willing to pay it. Jack was willing. Jack was a bitter old man who'd been hiding for 22 years. Torres's voice cracked. He wanted revenge more than justice. I loved him like a brother, but he wasn't thinking clearly at the end. So what do you want me to do? Surrender? Let Vance win? I want you to be smarter than Jack, smarter than me. Torres stood. The dead man's switch activates in 24 hours, but there's a kill code, a shutdown sequence that prevents the upload. Where is it? Webb has it. Half of it anyway. I have the other half. Both halves are required to stop the switch. Emily's blood ran cold. You want me to work with Webb. I want you to negotiate. Webb's boxed in just like Vance. If that evidence goes public, he dies in prison. But if it stays buried, he keeps his rank, his pension, his legacy. Torres handed Emily a sat phone. Call him. Offer a deal. The kill code in exchange for full immunity. For you, me, Ortega, everyone. He's desperate. Desperate men make deals. Torres's eyes were hard. But you need to move fast. Vance is tearing this valley apart looking for us. Once she finds the servers, or finds us, the option disappears. Emily looked at the phone, at Torres, at the Pelican case containing evidence that could destroy dozens of lives. What happens if I don't call him? Then we wait 24 hours and watch the world burn. Torres's voice was quiet. Is that justice? Maybe. Is it worth the cost? You tell me. Emily thought about Kowalski, Chen, Jack, 73 civilians whose names she didn't know. Then she thought about the hundreds of assets Torres mentioned, the legitimate operations, the collateral damage. She picked up the phone. Webb answered on the first ring. Sergeant Carter, I was wondering when you'd call. Emily's grip tightened on the phone. Torres says you have half the kill code, and she has the other half. Yes, I'm aware. Webb's voice was calm, controlled. I assume she explained the situation. She did. So here's the deal. You give us full immunity, signed by Vance, legally binding. In exchange, we stop the upload. Webb laughed. It was a cold sound. You're not in a position to negotiate. 23 hours from now, your career ends. Your freedom ends. Your life ends. I'd say I'm in a great position. Silence. Then, what makes you think I care about immunity? I could disappear. New identity, new country. I've done it before. You could, but you won't. Emily had thought about this during the walk to the feed mill. Because you're not like Jack. You didn't spend 22 years in bunkers because you believed in something. You did it because you wanted power. And running means losing that power forever. More silence. You're smarter than I gave you credit for, Sergeant. Is that a yes? It's a maybe. I need guarantees. Not just immunity, protection. Vance won't honor a deal if it costs her political capital. I need leverage. What kind of leverage? The kind only you can provide. Webb's voice hardened. You've already leaked files to Blackwood's network. That was clever. Caused chaos, turned my own contractors against me. But it also means copies exist outside my control, outside Vance's control. I need those copies destroyed. I don't have them anymore. But you know who does. The contractors who kept them, the ones who walked away from my command. A pause. Help me clean that up, and I'll give you immunity. I'll even throw in Ortega and Torres. Everyone walks. Emily's stomach turned. You want me to help you kill your own men. I want you to help me contain a leak. How that happens is up to you. And if I refuse, then Vance finds you in the next 6 hours and kills you. Then she finds Torres. Then she finds the servers and destroys them before the upload triggers. And everything Jack died for becomes nothing. Webb's voice was almost gentle. You've got one play left, Sergeant. This is it. Emily looked at Torres, who was watching with hard eyes. I need to think about it, Emily said. You've got 2 hours. After that, I pull my offer and take my chances with disappearing. Webb hung up. Emily lowered the phone, felt the weight of impossible choices pressing down. What did he say? Torres asked. He wants us to kill the contractors who kept the leaked files. And in exchange? Full immunity. Everyone walks. Torres nodded slowly. It's a good deal. Pragmatic, survival-oriented. It's murder. It's war. Torres stood. Those contractors made their choice when they kept copies. They're loose ends, dangerous ones. Webb's not wrong to want them eliminated. Jack wouldn't have agreed to this. Jack's dead because he refused to compromise. You want to join him? Torres's voice was harsh. Because that's the choice. Compromise and live, or stay pure and die. Emily closed her eyes, saw Kowalski's face, Chen's helmet spinning away, Jack's gray eyes. Heard his voice in her memory. You got two choices. One, run. Two, fight. But he'd never mentioned a third choice. Survive. I'll make the call, Emily said quietly. The contractors who'd kept files from Emily's leak had scattered across 3 states, according to Webb's intelligence. 8 men total, all former special operations, all heavily armed and paranoid. Webb provided locations, patterns of life, security details. Emily provided the execution. Not personally. She wasn't a killer, not like that, but she made the calls. Gave Webb the information he needed, coordinates, timing, weaknesses, and over the next 18 hours, 8 men died. Car accidents, gas leaks, training incidents, heart attacks, all convincingly accidental, all permanent. Emily monitored the reports through the sat phone, each notification a weight on her chest. By hour 16, she couldn't look Torres in the eye. You did what you had to, Torres said quietly. They were back at the feed mill, waiting for confirmation of the last death. I helped murder 8 people. You saved hundreds, maybe thousands. The evidence those contractors had would have triggered investigations, hearings, purges. Good operations would have died alongside bad ones. This was the pragmatic choice. Jack would have let everyone burn and called it justice. Torres's voice was sharp, but Jack was wrong. Sometimes survival requires compromise. Sometimes staying alive means getting your hands dirty. The phone buzzed. Final confirmation. All 8 contractors dead. All copied files destroyed. Emily felt numb. Make the call, Torres said. Get our immunity before Webb changes his mind. Emily dialed. Webb answered immediately. Cleanup complete, Emily said flatly. I know. I've been monitoring. Webb sounded satisfied. You work efficiently, Sergeant. Pragmatic. Professional. You'd have made a good asset. I want the deal. In writing. Signed by Vance. Already done. Check your email. I sent the immunity agreements 10 minutes ago. Emily opened the sat phone's email. Found documents with Vance's digital signature. Legally binding immunity for Emily Carter, Daniel Ortega, and Diana Torres. All crimes forgiven. All records sealed. It was everything she'd asked for, and it felt like ashes. Now the kill code, Webb said, both halves, simultaneously entered or the dead man switch assumes coercion and uploads anyway. Torres pulled out her laptop, typed a string of characters. Emily saw Webb's half appear on a split screen. On 3, Webb said. 1, 2, 3. They entered the codes together. The laptop screen flashed green, then displayed Dead man switch deactivated. Upload sequence terminated. Emily stared at the screen. 22 years of evidence. 73 murdered civilians. Jack's entire legacy. Erased. Pleasure doing business, Sergeant, Webb said. Try not to get yourself killed in the next 48 hours. Vance is still looking for you, and she doesn't know about our arrangement. He hung up. Emily sat in silence, the Pelican case at her feet, her hands shaking. We survived, Torres said quietly. That's what matters. Is it? Emily looked at her. We buried the truth, protected murderers, became accomplices. We stayed alive. In this world, that's victory. Emily thought about that, about survival versus justice, about compromise versus principle, about what Jack would say if he could see her now. I need to check on Ortega, she said, standing. Torres nodded. I'll dispose of the laptop, destroy the evidence of what we did here. More cover-ups, more survival. Torres's eyes were hard. Get used to it, Sergeant. This is the world you chose to live in. Emily found Ortega where she'd left him, hidden in the tree line, barely conscious but still breathing. Did it work? He mumbled when she arrived. Yeah, we got immunity. Webb and Vance both signed off. Emily checked his wound. Infected, spreading. He needed a hospital soon, or he'd die regardless of immunity. We need to get you to Silver Creek, medical care. And walk into Vance's trap? The trap's for fugitives. We're not fugitives anymore. We're protected. Emily helped him stand. We show them the immunity papers. They let us go. You really believe that? Emily didn't answer. Because she didn't. They walked into Silver Creek at 16:30 hours, Emily supporting Ortega, both of them exhausted beyond measure. The contractors saw them immediately. Weapons came up. Men shouted coordinates. Then Senator Patricia Vance stepped out of the internet cafe, flanked by two bodyguards. She was exactly what Emily expected. Mid-60s, impeccably dressed, radiating the kind of power that came from 20 years in the Senate. Her eyes were cold, calculating. Sergeant Carter, Vance said, you've been quite the nuisance. I have immunity. Emily pulled out the sat phone, showed the signed documents. From you, legally binding. We both know you can't touch me. Vance examined the documents. Her expression didn't change. Yes, I signed these, approximately 2 hours ago, at Colonel Webb's insistence. Then we're done here. I need medical evacuation for Lieutenant Ortega. Medical evacuation is already en route, Vance gestured. An ambulance appeared from behind the general store, medics emerging. Lieutenant Ortega will receive the best care available. He'll make a full recovery. Emily didn't trust this, couldn't. What's the catch? No catch. You negotiated well. You survived. You even showed admirable pragmatism in resolving the loose end problem. Vance's smile was cold. But there is one small detail we need to address. What detail? Vance gestured again. Two contractors dragged a figure out of an SUV. Diana Torres, beaten, bloodied, hands zip-tied. Emily's blood turned to ice. You said, I said I'd provide immunity for you and Ortega, and I have. Vance walked toward Torres. But Miss Torres's name isn't on those documents. An oversight, I'm sure. She has immunity. Webb promised you immunity in exchange for cleaning up the contractor problem. You did that. Excellently, I might add. 8 men dead in 18 hours. Vance crouched beside Torres, but he never promised anything about her. Emily raised her rifle. 30 contractors immediately trained weapons on her. Don't be stupid, Sergeant, Vance said calmly. You fire one shot, you void your immunity. Is Miss Torres worth dying for? Emily's hands shook. Torres met her eyes, shook her head slightly. Don't. She's a loose end, Vance continued. The last person alive who knows where Jack Rowland's evidence is truly stored. The dead man's switch is disabled, yes, but there are always backups, always contingencies. She pulled out a pistol. I can't risk her staying alive. If you kill her, I'll talk. I'll go public with everything. No, you won't, because you signed immunity papers that include non-disclosure clauses. You talk, you go to prison for violating federal law. You stay quiet, you live. Vance pressed the pistol against Torres's head. Choose, Sergeant. Emily looked at Torres, at Ortega being loaded into the ambulance, at the 30 rifles pointed at her chest, thought about survival, about compromise, about the world she'd chosen to live in. I'm sorry, she whispered. Torres smiled, sad, understanding. Don't be. You made the right choice. Vance pulled the trigger. The shot echoed across Silver Creek like thunder. Torres's body collapsed onto frozen ground. Emily didn't move, could barely breathe. Smart decision, Sergeant, Vance said, holstering her weapon. You'll go far in this world if you remember one lesson. Survival requires sacrifice. Always. She walked away, contractors following, leaving Emily standing alone over Torres's body. The ambulance drove off with Ortega. The SUVs departed. Silver Creek returned to silence. Emily knelt beside Torres, closed her eyes, tried to feel something. Grief, rage, anything. Found only emptiness. She'd survived. That was what mattered. That was victory. That was the world she'd chosen. Emily Carter sat in a coffee shop in Portland, watching rain streak the windows, trying to remember what normal felt like. She'd been medically discharged from the Army 6 weeks ago. Honorable discharge, full benefits, a commendation for actions during a classified training operation. The paperwork made no mention of Idaho, of Blackwood, of anything real. Ortega had recovered. Sent her a text 2 weeks ago. Got a job offer from a defense contractor. Good money. Desk work. I think I'm done with field work. You? She hadn't replied. Didn't know what to say. I helped murder 8 people. I watched a senator execute a woman in cold blood. I survived by betraying everything Jack Rowland died protecting. Yeah, that would make a great text. Her phone buzzed. Email notification from an address she didn't recognize. Roland_contingency_alpha at encrypted.server. Emily's breath caught. She opened it. The message contained no text, just an attachment. Video file. Timestamp. 3 months ago. The day Jack Rowland died. She played it. Jack's face filled the screen. Gray beard, gray eyes. That scar from temple to jaw. Hey kid, his recorded voice said. If you're watching this, I'm dead, and you probably think you failed. Emily's vision blurred. But you didn't. You survived. That's hard enough. But I need you to know something. Jack leaned closer to the camera. Torres was a good soldier, good friend, but she lied to you about one thing. Emily's hands clenched. There is no kill code. The dead man's switch can't be stopped. I built it that way deliberately. Torres knew that. She told you otherwise because she was tired. Tired of running. Tired of fighting. She wanted to make a deal, survive, let the evidence die. The room felt too small, too hot. But I didn't spend 22 years protecting this evidence just to let it die quietly. So I built redundancy, triple redundancy. The switch activates exactly 90 days after my death. No matter what, no exceptions. Jack smiled. It looked tired, old. Today is day 90, kid. Right about now, every server I set up is uploading every file Torres and I collected. War crimes, civilian massacres, Senator Vance's authorization, Colonel Webb's orders, all of it. Going to 50 news organizations, 3 international courts, and the FBI. Emily couldn't breathe. You're probably thinking, why didn't I tell you? Why let you think you could stop it? Jack's expression softened. Because you needed to believe you had a choice. You needed to survive. And survival means compromise. I get that. I did it for 22 years. He leaned back. But survival isn't enough. Not for me. Maybe not for you either. So now you've got another choice. This evidence is going public in about 6 hours. When it does, Vance and Webb will know they were played. They'll know their immunity deal was worthless. They'll come for you. Emily's phone buzzed. News alert. Breaking. Classified documents reveal systematic war crimes by U.S. personnel in 2003 Libya operation. Another alert. Senator Vance refuses comment on leaked documents allegedly showing authorization of civilian killings. Another. Colonel Marcus Webb placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Jack's voice continued. So here's the choice. Run. Change your name. Disappear. Spend your life hiding like I did. Or fight. Go public. Tell your story. Make them face what they did. Emily stared at the screen through tears. I can't tell you which to choose, but I can tell you this. Torres was wrong. Survival isn't victory. Justice is, even if it costs everything. Jack's image froze, then the video ended. Emily sat in silence, watching news alerts flood her phone, watching the world she'd tried to bury come roaring back to life. Her immunity papers were worthless now. Vance and Webb would come for her. Probably already were. She could run, disappear, survive, or she could stand. Tell the truth, face the consequences, finish what Jack started. Emily looked at her reflection in the coffee shop window, saw a ghost staring back. Someone who'd buried too much, compromised too far, survived at too high a cost. She pulled out her phone, opened the contacts, found a number she'd saved 3 months ago. Washington Post, investigative team. Her finger hovered over the call button. Survival or justice, compromise or truth. The choice Jack had given her from the beginning. Emily took a breath and made the call.